What's going on, folks? Bob Light here. We're in Bitwig Studio again, greatest style in the world, and we're making Jungle, and I'm going to show you guys how to chop up old school sample CDs for some effects. And a technique I've been using lately is just chopping up a full track and throwing it in a drum machine, kind of similar to a break, and it's an easy way to be able to test a bunch of different effects in your track. So first thing you're going to need is an old school sample CD, the kind where a single track would have like 10 different one shots on it. So if you're making Jungle, a great way to get that old school sound if you can find an old school sample CD. I'm using one called That Jungle Flavor, Volume 1, and I have track 87 here that has a bunch of one shots. Bunch of good stuff in there. So I'm just going to drag that in to my timeline here. So that goes onto a new audio track. And if I pull up my inspector panel, we'll see it is automatically time stretched with the cyclic mode. I'm going to leave that on, and I'm going to double click on this guy and just bring this up here. Now, what I want to do, we see all of our different one shots in here. And this is very similar to just chopping a break. I just want to create onsets at all of the onsets for all the different samples. So I'm going to switch from audio events to onsets, and I'm going to press Control A. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I am going to highlight all of these blue onsets and click Delete, and we are going to put in our own onsets at the beginning of each sample. So first one, I could just click here, and we'll see that little blue marker. I'm going to come into the next one here and just put it right there. It's not perfect, but just for the sake of the video, we just want to keep moving. So I'll keep going through and putting in these onsets at the start of each hit. You're just cruising. This is just like chopping up a break, or very similar. Again, you could tighten this up and where you place those onsets and trim some stuff out, but just to get the idea across here. So I have all my onsets in, and what's going to happen is we are now going to right-click that track and select Slice to Drum Machine. Now we're going to do pre-fader. We don't have any effects on here, and we want to go to the drop-down, Slice At, and select Onset. You may want to turn off limit number of slices if you have 128 samples in a single file, which is unlikely, but either way, tells us we will have 10 slices. So we have 10 samples in this one track. I'm going to click OK. Interesting error. Yes, I'm going to bounce it anyways. So what we now have is a new track created in Bitwig, and all of those onsets basically pulled out a portion of that sample. So if I select this first drum hit, you can see on the right on the waveform, we see the full waveform for that full track, and we can see between the yellow markers that little onset. So if we go to the next one, next one, next one, so on and so forth. So what this lets us do is we can quickly audition all of these different one hits and try to find one that sounds good. And then it makes it easier, in my opinion, to manipulate these. So I could like do something like come to this. I could create a copy of it by holding Option and dragging up onto another cell. So I have that same slice just in another container. So I could do something like change the pitch. And my original slice is still intact there. Right, so a great way to play around with stuff. And from here, on your timeline, you're going to create a clip, and you'll be painting this in with MIDI. So pro tip, if you're in this keyboard view, click Show Drum Editor, and it will hide unused keys. So you see just keys with samples. Another thing to watch out for on each sample is your amp envelope. So currently, if I just click it's not going to play the full sample because our sustain is turned all the way up. So what you could do is turn release all the way up, and it will basically play it as a one shot. And then you can go through and see what meshes well with your track. Something I usually do if I'm working with effects is get a good delay on there. Right? And that just kind of gives you an idea. So let's say we sample this. And I kind of like this little guy here. That's pretty creepy. It's kind of funky. So I could have that in as a single hit. All right, just a little clip here. Maybe I kind of have it on the transition. Right, then I could duplicate that out, and there was another hit on here that was pretty sweet. It's like a little downer. And that's kind of the gist of it, guys. Just, you know, another way to work, another way to get inspired. I had this other one I was messing with earlier as well. I got some funky stuff in there. Right? And the idea, again, isn't that you let all the samples play. It's just to kind of get some stuff on the board, mess around, see what sounds cool. And, yeah, jungle music, drum and bass. It's awesome.